Hey fellow babies, welcome back to this week's Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. If you're watching on SIFTD, we very much appreciate your patronage on Patreon, and keep it coming because Shane needs to keep the lights on. And if you're watching on YouTube a week later, you're getting it for free. So the cost of admission is, please follow me on Twitter at Michael Pachter. Our first question this week from Patreon from Liam Walker. Why don't console manufacturers offer a subscription and upgrade plan like Apple and mobile networks do? Why can't I pay $75 to $100 a month and get a PlayStation 4, PS Plus, PSVR headset, and eventually upgrade to PS4 Pro at a discounted rate after trading in my launch PS4? Wow. That would require the console manufacturers to actually be enlightened. I think that's a great idea. I own my iPhone. I actually personally believe that Apple and the cellular carriers take advantage of the fact that most people don't have can write a check for $800 or whatever to buy a phone, and so they get you on these monthly plans. And the monthly plans, if it was a regular financing and you were paying 4 or 5% interest, and so you were paying the cost of the phone minus the $200, so let's say $550, you were paying X dollars a month, which was $550 borrowed, amortized over 2 years, plus 5% interest. It wouldn't bother me. It doesn't work that way. You're getting screwed. So the answer to your question is, the console manufacturers, if they thought about it, would do this if they could make more money. So if they would do the math and they would say, if we sign somebody up, we're going to assume that he's going to get a PS4, then he's going to upgrade to PSVR, then he's going to upgrade to PS4 Pro. Yes, he's going to want PlayStation Plus, and they were going to add that all up, and they're going to say, okay, we need to get $1,500 out of this guy in order to make it worthwhile, and we need to make a profit on that. So we'll charge him $1,700, and they'd price it that way. And so it wouldn't be, $75 to $100 a month. It would be more, and you wouldn't do it. The only way that these installment plans make sense for the consumer is if the consumer doesn't have the money to pay up front. And I totally get that. A lot of people have no credit or low credit. If you look at, you can Google this, payday lenders. There are guys who will loan you money against your paycheck. So you bring in your pay stub and it shows that you make $500 a week, let's say, and they will loan you $400 and you have to pay them $500 the next week. They will do stuff like that. And so your interest rate is ridiculous. I mean, I made those numbers up, but that's 25% a week. And I'm not kidding. The rates are ridiculous like that. They might not be 25%. They might be 2% a week. But
at more than 2%.
Yeah, exactly. But at 2% a week, that's 50% a year. So the point is, they're much higher than if you actually had credit. There are guys who will rent you a couch. They will rent you a television. They will rent you a TV. Look up Aaron Rents or Rent a Center and take a look at what they charge. And you will see, they'll say something like, get this 4K 55-inch TV for only $20 a week. Actually, let's make it lighter, $10 a week. And you go, shoot, I can get a 4K TV for $10 a week. What a great deal. Except after a year, it's $500. You know what a 4K 55-inch TV costs? $400. By the way, you don't own it after a year of $10 a month. You're renting it. So the Rent-A-Center is hoping you do that for 2 years. They give you a $500 TV. They get $1,000, and then when you quit and turn it in, they sell it for $100 used. So they make $1,100 on a $500 TV. You have to be a fool to do that, but people do it because they have no money. So the answer to your question is, and again, I'm not trying to cast aspersions. People who don't have money, and I recognize that they're doing the best they can. The moral of the story is, if you can't afford something, then don't get it. Our next question this week from Patreon from Jacques. Jacques, thanks for being a Patreon patron. You're a good guy. Hey, Pac. With governments all over the world increasingly making inquiries into whether loot boxes are gambling, is there any chance they could ban microtransactions for minors by rating games that include them as mature? Boy, ban is the wrong word. M-rated games aren't banned for people under age. M means that the retailer has agreed not to sell the game to somebody under 18, but they can sell it to a parent who can gift it to a kid. But yes, I think that you could say any game with loot boxes is automatically M-rated because you have to be, an intelligent adult in order to make a decision on whether you want to spend money. The cool thing about loot boxes is they're self-regulating. You can't buy anything in a game unless you have a credit card tied to your account. So if you are a parent of a 9-year-old and you have unlimited money and you attach a credit card to your Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus account and you let your 9-year-old kid spend whatever he wants, you're a moron. But go for it. I don't care. There are morons out there. I get it. If you let your kid do that, it's not the loot box's problem. It's your problem. You're a bad parent. Figure it out. Unless you have unlimited money, and then who cares? So as far as regulating it, it's already self-regulated because you need a credit card account attached. Go into PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live and take a look. You can set limits on purchases. That's legal. It's in there right there. There's a parental control area. So in fairness, I actually think Microsoft's great and Sony's great at regulating this anyway. But you got to go set it up. And so your kid, unless he knows where you keep it in your drawer and he can put in all that CVV code and all that other crap, no, he's not doing it himself. And I doubt very many 9-year-olds have a credit card. So the parent sets it up and the parental controls are right there. And so, no. And so let me go back to this. I am a Democrat, okay? Democrats in general are perceived to be like anti-business and pro-consumer, I guess, but I'm a capitalist as well. And so my bias is, and we don't need the government to regulate microtransactions to protect us. We need parents to regulate their kids' behavior to protect their kids. It is not the government's responsibility to keep some innocent 9-year-old from being exposed to a loot box in Star Wars. It's just not the government's job. Stay out of my games. It is the parent's job. Don't buy the kid the game if it's got microtransactions. You don't want them to get involved in it, period. And by the way, how does a parent protect a kid from spending money in League of Legends? It's a PC game. It's free. Download. My guess is there are some kids playing League of Legends, like a lot of them. You got look at the best League of Legends players in the world. They're all like 17-year-old Koreans. Guess what? They didn't start playing when they were 17. They started playing when they were 10, and they're amazing because they're amazing. And I don't know if they spent money or not, nor do I care. But lots of kids play games. Gambling requires a wager with the expectation of winning something of value in return. When you buy a loot box, what's the value in return? You get what? You get a better weapon? Try selling it. If you can't sell it, it isn't gambling. Yes, I know. Valve, Counter-Strike Go, there's an exchange and people can sell stuff there. That's an open question, whether loot boxes in Counter-Strike Go are gambling or not, because the stuff you win can be exchanged. Not in Star Wars, not in Overwatch, not in any game that I know of. EVE Online, maybe I don't think they have loot boxes. But if it can't be converted into something that has value, then no, it is not gambling. Sorry, not. So it can't be legislated. If the government decided to force games, challenge whether games can be sold to minors, that violates what used to be called Schwarzenegger versus Entertainment Merchants Association, turned into Brown versus EMA because Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor, replaced by Jerry Brown. Went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court said, no, the state can't legislate sales of games to minors. Sorry, they can't do it. It's protected speech. So no, the idiots in Hawaii can't do it. They can pretend that they're going to, huff and puff. They hope that gamers are going to love them because they're taking your side. They're idiots. Get them out of office. We need more intelligent people in office who are gamers, who are pro gamers and gaming, not these idiots who are exploiting an issue for personal gain. It reminds me of Jack Thompson. Idiots. From SIFTD, our next question comes from The Champ. Cloverfield was shadow dropped after the Super Bowl, and some artists have been shadow dropping albums. Do you think a major video game publisher will ever shadow drop a AAA game? Sony has shadow dropped demos, Nintendo shadow dropped Zelda DLC. Will any publisher be brave enough to take the next step? I think it would be stupid to do so with a AAA game, unless the AAA game is like something that's highly anticipated. So, could Bethesda get away with Elder Scrolls 6 is here, boom? Yeah, they probably could, because we've been looking for it for 5 years. I mean, we didn't expect it 5 years ago, but it's been more than 5 years, 7 years. It's been 7 years, I think, since the last one. Yeah, of course they could pull that off, and there's enough people who care. Is that the smartest way to market it? I think to shadow drop Elder Scrolls 6 in May, sure. Maybe in September. In November, no. They would hurt themselves with holiday sales. Because if they shadow dropped it, let's say November 15th, how many kids are going to get it on their Christmas list in time for mom to buy it? I mean, sure, there are lots of parents who wait till the last second, but what if you made your Christmas list November 10th and gave it to mom, and then it got shadow dropped November 15th? I guess you can yell to your mom, hey, add this, but, no, that would be dumb. By the way, Cloverfield, please look up the story of Cloverfield Paradox. This was a Paramount film that was in development hell. It had been delayed twice. It ultimately went to Netflix because Paramount decided not to release it. So, nothing personal, dude, but it's a crappy movie. Now, I know a lot of people like it, but a lot of people like everything. I mean, there's people who like everything. It's a piece of crap movie, and I'm saying this from a business perspective. Paramount said, we can't recover our production costs and our marketing expense if we release this in a theater. We won't get our money back. So we're going to skip the step of spending marketing dollars and let Netflix buy it from us for half of our production costs. That's my guess, something less. Take our loss and move on with life, and then Netflix buys a Super Bowl ad. Great, that $1 million, whatever. If Netflix spent $20 million buying the rights to the film, of course it's worth $1 million. If it was marketed as a wide release, $30 million. I mean, so Paramount saved 30, Netflix spent $1 million, let's say. They have you asking this dopey question, nothing personal, I don't really think it's dopey. And I'm talking about it, and so Cloverfield Paradox is getting more publicity for a piece of crap. Don't waste your time. It's a bad movie, okay? Bad. And again, it's because Paramount decided it was bad that I'm saying that. Got a really terrible Metacritic score. I think it got a really bad Rotten Tomatoes score, like plus 13 or something, like terrible. Yes, I know it got a good viewer score because guess what? When you see a 13 Rotten Tomatoes score or Metacritic score, and most intelligent people say, screw that, I'm not going to watch it. So the people who are inclined to say, this is horrible, aren't watching it. The fools who say, I don't care what Rotten Tomatoes or Metacritic says, I'm going to watch it anyway, those are the guys who say, yeah, since I did it, it was great. That's it. It's like, sorry, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy that people who actually watched it. And so unless you get like a 99% fan review, no. If you get anything below like 80, it's just not a good movie because the people who like me, I will never watch Bright. It's like, I will never watch any of the Netflix Adam Sandler movies. Go look up those Adam Sandler movies. I'm not kidding. The first two, you can go to Metacritic, sort by worst rated films of all time, and both of the first two Adam Sandler movies are in the top 50 worst rated films ever. I'm not going to watch that. Our last question from YouTube from Jonathan Forrester. What is your favorite console of all time and why? How many of you guys watching this, raise your hand, have even ever owned a Sega console? Okay, right, because the last one was like in the 90s. So,
well, 299 it launched.
Yeah.
It died in 2001.
Yeah, so I'm saying it was 90s. So most of you guys weren't alive. If you're under 20, you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you're under 30, it might have been your first console, but PlayStation was so popular you probably didn't own it. You'd have to be 40 pretty much to actually appreciate this. So when I say it, I just know by saying it, I'm pissing off all Nintendo fanboys, all Xbox, all PlayStation, whatever they're called. And the reason I picked Sega Genesis for real, Sega was the bomb in sports back then. And Sega had NFL, NBA, and the one that mattered to me, NHL. And the Genesis at the time, and I probably, if I saw it now, I'd probably laugh and say how crappy it was. It was the crispest, best graphics I've ever seen in a sports game, a sports sim. And I wasn't even a real life hockey fan that much, but the NHL hockey game, like,
NHL 94.
changed my life. And the only game I've played since that in sports that's really made me feel the same way is a recent FIFA, like the last 3 or 4 on this next gen on the Xbox One and PS4. FIFA plays like the old NHL games. Like, you really have control over the players. The graphics are unbelievable. And you just feel like you're actually in the game. But my God, that's all I played on the Genesis was Sonic the Hedgehog and NHL. I mean, that was it. I don't even know if there were other Sega games I cared about, but
For a lot.
But yeah, but I really loved NHL. And so any of you guys who play NBA 2K, that's a Sega game. Yeah, so I got to say, I'm a big sports game fan in general, and they just did it right. So that's my favorite. As far as probably the console I've used the most, I'd say probably the Nintendo DS, DS/3DS. I probably spent more time playing that than any other console because I used to fly cross country once a month, each direction, so twice a month, and I would put 10 hours a month in just on a DS. So that's my second. My third favorite is probably the regular original PlayStation, and that was Tony Hawk. Tony Hawk changed my life. My fourth favorite is probably the Xbox 360. All right, fellow babies, thank you for joining us on Pachter Factor on SIFTD.net. We're hopeful you are a Patreon patron, and if you are, thank you so much for the support. Shane needs to pay bills. This stuff costs money to produce, and so if you guys can squeeze an extra $1, here and there, $1 a week would be awesome. $1 a month would be great. We appreciate it. If you can't and you're not willing to support on Patreon and you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much for just having any interest in anything I have to say. Hope that I'm teaching you about Scotch and corrupting your life forever with that. Please follow me on Twitter, @MichaelPachter on Twitter. I could use some more followers, MichaelPachter. Thanks very much. I'll see you next week.